"What do you mean, son? Am I going to kill her?" "Of course I will. I already sentenced her to death." "Somebody had to. I'm her father-in-law and the only judge in the village. Me, Judah. Anyway, there's no question Tamar is guilty. She's pregnant." "Not fair. Oh, Shalak, out of all my sons, you always had the softest heart. And you're right, women do have desire, just like men. Your mother of blessed memory, well, I don't need to go into that. The thing is, no matter how much Tamar wanted a man, she should have followed the rules. She should have waited and married you." "How long was I going to make her wait?" "Oh, Shalak, did you really want to risk marriage to Tamar? Remember when your brother Er died, the same night he married her?" "Of course I saw how drunk Er was that night. Everybody saw. But who expected him to be dead in the morning? He was drunk lots of nights. An embarrassment to the family, really. I thought marriage might settle him down, so I found Tamar. Tall, big breasts, big hips, and sensible, too." "No, I didn't ask for her opinion. Her father agreed to the marriage, so I assumed. Anyway, Er died on his wedding night, and Tamar wasn't pregnant, so we had to give her another chance at a child. That's the rule. The nearest kinsman has a duty to get the childless widow pregnant. It's called yibum. All right, you know what yibum is. But did you know that if your brother Onan had done his duty, then the child would have counted as heirs? And eventually, Tamar's son would get Er's share of the family livestock business. That's the rule. So Tamar would have been set for life in our family because of her son. But Onan, did you know he was actually glad that Er died because that made his inheritance bigger? Selfish bugger. So Onan did not do his duty, even though he and Tamar slept in the same room for a month. He was spilling his seed on the ground. He wasn't following the rules. Then one morning, he was dead. So I sent Tamar back to her father's house, because you were the only son I had left, and you were too young for yibum. Tamar would just have to wait for you to grow up. And I didn't want her to wait in our house. She's bad news." "Well, it's true that your beard is filling out now, yeah, and you're my right-hand man in the sheep and goat trade. I admit it, you're old enough to get married. But Tamar, I already lost 2 sons in her bed." "Shalak, are you the one who's tired of waiting? You know, you're a man now. You can visit a prostitute if you..." Sorry, I just thought..." "Well, sure, I used to visit prostitutes when I was young, before I met your mother, but I never did anything out of line. I always followed the rules, despite what Joseph said about me and my brothers." "What did he say?" "Maybe this isn't the time." "No, it's good to tell old stories while you wait to execute someone. Silence can drive a man crazy. Remember that, Shalach. Someday you'll be the local judge." So, you know your grandfather Jacob? He doted on Joseph, gave him a fancy coat, let the rest of his sons wear plain wool, sent him to spy on the rest of us when we were out with the flocks. Then he believed all the tales Joseph brought back, making us sound like criminals. One day, Joseph caught up with us in Dotan, and we grabbed him and stripped off his coat and threw him in a pit. He was such an awful little creep. We just did it without thinking. Some of my brothers said we should kill Joseph. They'd already started gathering stones when I spotted a caravan headed for Egypt. So I persuaded them to sell him as a slave instead. Oh, it was against the rules. I knew that. Only a father can sell his child as a slave. Still, it saved the boy's life, and it kept my brothers from killing their own kin, which would have broken a bigger rule. Also, it got Joseph out of our hair. What? Actually, Shalach, we didn't tell our father what we'd done. How could we? We let him think a wild animal killed Joseph. Well, we didn't lie directly. We dipped Joseph's fancy coat in goat's blood and showed it to Jacob when we got home. He drew his own conclusions. All right, we were still dishonest. Yes, Jacob suffered, but he'd never cared about our suffering, so why should we care about his? I didn't know then what it was like to lose a son or a wife. Still, after that, I don't know. I just couldn't stand living with my family anymore. It was bad enough living with myself. So I took my share of the flock and left. I didn't stop until I reached this place and saw Bat-shua. She was beautiful, tall, big breasts, big hips. Yes, that was your mother, of blessed memory. I hope I was a good husband to her. But maybe I wasn't such a good father. I didn't know what to teach boys. My father never taught me. Thank you, Shalach. Maybe I got better with practice. You know, last year, when your mother died, I might have lost myself in grief the way my father did. But you were there, helping me. You're the only son I have left. If you died young like your brothers, I couldn't bear it. And that's why I made Tamar wait so long. All right, maybe I didn't have to send her back to her father's house. But I had the right. And I thought she was cursed if she even lived in the same house as you. No, I did not ask her where she wanted to live while she waited. Anyway, she stopped waiting, so the problem is solved. Oh, is that what the women in the marketplace say? Well, they know how to judge pregnancies. Carrying twins conceived at sheep shearing time, huh? If some man around here had died in his sleep then, we'd know who Tamar's lover was. No, I don't think Tamar went to the sheep shearing in Timnah. I would have seen her. But you're right, there is a lot of sex and drinking at a sheep shearing. Maybe I'll take you next year. This year, I left you home so you could supervise the goat herders and house servants. You did a good job, Shalach, and they saw that you're in line to be their next master. Did I what? No, I never do much drinking, but all right, I'll tell you. I missed your mother, and a woman was sitting at the crossroads on the way. I knew what she was waiting for. She was wearing a veil like a shrine prostitute, or a bride, except that her gown was cut way too low for a bride. And she was built the way I like a woman, tall, big breasts, big hips. Of course I paid her. That's the rule. Actually, I didn't have any silver on me, or even a lamb. Hera had already taken my flocks on down the road so I could enjoy myself. So I promised her a goat kid. Then she asked me for a pledge until the kid was delivered. I gave her my word, but she laughed and asked me for my staff and the seal on the cord around my neck. I wasn't so sure about that. What if I needed to seal a document? But the people in Timna already knew me, and after all, it was just a pledge. After the sheep shearing, I sent Hera off to the shrine with a goat kid, but she wasn't there. He asked around, but nobody knew of a prostitute who fit her description. So that's how I lost my staff and my seal. Hey, you hear those voices outside? Sounds like the elders have brought Tamar here to be burned. Yeah, burning to death is the usual penalty. Unless the girl's father takes full responsibility for her and her child, which Tamar's father did not do. That's why we have a woodpile in our front yard today. I just hope they remembered to tie her hands. I don't want this to get ugly. Would you step outside, Shalak, and make sure her hands are tied before I walk out as the judge? What do you mean you don't want to? You're going to be the master after me. You have to practice making sure the rules are followed. Shalak, will you please stop asking me questions and get out of there? Get out there. Make sure her hands are tied. That point. Oh, back already? Hey, that's my staff and my seal on my own cord. Where'd they come from? Tamar? Did she say anything? Tell me the message. I am with child by the man who these belong to. Examine them, please. Whose seal and cord and staff are these? That's all she said? Oh. Oh. Shalach, run out and tell the elders I commute the sentence. Tell them to bring Tamar inside. Gently, unburned. You're right, they will ask why. Tell them, oh God. Tell them I said, she is more in the right than I am, since I did not give her to my son Shalach. It's the truth. Go, go. So Tamar decided I count as next of kin to her dead husband heir, since a brother wasn't available. I guess I do according to the rules. Now I'll be the laughingstock of the village. So why do I feel better? Right? They're safely locked away. Now I can catch my breath. Oh, I thought I'd never see them again. Then there they were, my 10 older brothers right in front of me, asking me permission to buy grain. Oh, the sound of Hebrew made my skin crawl. I kept my face blank as if I didn't understand until the translator spoke. And I only spoke Egyptian. They don't realize that I'm Joseph. I look different too, not just 20 years older. I shave my whole body now, like any sensible Egyptian, and wear a wig and a goatee, and a pleated skirt made of the finest Egyptian linen. I don't look like Joseph, son of Jacob, anymore. I look like what I am, the viceroy of Egypt. The 10 of them still look like hairy shepherds from Canaan. Reuben and Judah have gray in their beards now, but I knew them right away. And now they're all in the upper prison. I'm safe. Safe? What am I saying? Why is my heart beating so fast? I'm not afraid of them anymore. I have all the power now. They're just a gang of starving Canaanites begging to buy enough grain to get through another year of famine. Begging in Hebrew. Oh, how my brothers hated me. They hated my mother too, because Jacob loved Rachel more than he loved their mothers. And he paid more attention to me than to them. It wasn't our fault, me and my mother. We were just good-looking people. My mother died right after she gave birth to Benjamin. I remember. My father sat in ashes from then on. And me? For 2 months after she died, I couldn't stop crying, me and the baby. My brothers didn't even bother to wail at the funeral. They just made a little rip in the hems of their robes and went on about their business. Out of our whole huge family, my mother was the only one who loved me. Oh, Jacob doted on me, but he never listened to me. He gave me that fancy coat and he sent me out to report on my brothers. That turned out to be a mistake. Maybe I made some mistakes too. I tattled on them every time they got drunk or went to prostitutes. And I told everyone about my 2 dreams, the ones where all my brothers bowed down to me, like they did today. Everyone except Benjamin. Judah said their youngest brother stayed home with their father. So all right, 20 years ago, my older brothers hated me, and it was partly my fault. But did they have to grab me and strip me naked and throw me in a pit? You know, at first, I thought they were playing a nasty joke on me. Even when they argued over whether to kill me, I thought they were joking. Who would kill his own half-brother? I remember sitting naked in the pit, shivering, listening to Judah say that they should sell me as a slave instead. Look, he said, there's a caravan heading for Egypt. Nobody else will ever know what happened to him. They'll take our word for it that we found him dead, eaten by a wild beast. They pulled me out, and there really was a caravan. Strange men were surrounding me, sizing me up, suggesting a price. And my brothers sold me. I never saw them again until today. The truth is, selling me was a second-hand way to kill me. Field slaves don't last long here in Egypt. I would have died soon enough under the lash and the burning sun, but God blessed me with the right master who set me to work indoors. And God blessed me in everything else that followed. Viceroy of Egypt, that's what I am now. The past is behind me. No, the past is in front of me, on the other side of this prison door. I had to give a reason for locking them up. So I accused my brothers of being spies. I don't know why. I blurted it out in Egyptian, thank God, not Hebrew. I said they'd come to see the nakedness of the land. Why did I say that? I guess I felt naked, even in my linen skirt. Silly of me. I have dozens of guards at my command. It was so easy throwing all 10 of them into prison. And hey, If I leave them in prison for the rest of their lives, nobody will question me. But I think I won't, because of the people who are waiting for them to bring back grain. Leah and Bilhah and Zilpah and Jacob, and all my brothers' wives and children, and my baby brother Benjamin. Wait, Benjamin must be a grown man now, maybe with his own wife and child. Imagine. I bet Jacob dotes on him now, since he's Rachel's only other son. Do the 10 in there hate Benjamin now? Enough to kill him? Or have they changed? I could test them. I'll send them back to Canaan with grain and no, I'll keep one of them here as a hostage. Shimon, he was always the meanest. And I'll tell the rest of them that they have to come back with their youngest brother. They'll bring him to me sooner or later. The famine has another 6 years to go. God told me so through Pharaoh's dreams. And when they come back with Benjamin, I'll give them the real test. They will have to prove to me that they would never kill nor sell a brother again, and prove it without knowing who I am. If they fail my test, what will I do? I don't know, but at least I can keep Benjamin safe here in Egypt. And if they pass the test, what then? I guess I'll have to reveal myself. Let them know that inside the viceroy of Egypt is Joseph. And who is Joseph? 20 years after they hauled me up naked from that pit. I don't know. Am I the kind of person who would keep his enemies in a decent prison for the rest of their lives? Or am I the kind of person who would pardon even murderers and give them a second chance? This is Judah and his brothers.
Judah and his brothers. Judah.
Yes, it's me, Judah. Come into the tent, Naphtali. Good. We're all here now, all 10 of us. Joseph's older brothers, the guilty ones. Still. I saw it in your faces yesterday when we buried our father Jacob. And today, when Joseph made that detour to Dothan, not the most direct route back to Egypt from the family burial cave. Did you recognize the old pit on the ridge above Dothan? I didn't. Not until I saw Joseph standing at the edge looking down. Yeah, it scared me too. I think he was praying. What was he praying for?
Ooh.
No, Shimon. We should not have just killed him 37 years ago. It's bad enough we sold him as a slave. You can blame me for that. It was my idea. Well, yes, Naphtali, you're right. It was my idea, but we all took the money. Even you, Reuben. We are all guilty. We all hated Joseph, and we all suffered because he was turning our father against us, and we all wanted to get rid of him for good. Am I right? So, after that detour to the pit today, I figured we'd need to talk. That's why I pitched my tent so far away from Joseph and the Egyptian honor guard. I'm glad you all came. Now, hold on, Levi. Just because Joseph stopped at the pit today, that doesn't mean he still hates us. It just means, I don't know, but it doesn't mean that he's been waiting until Father's death to take revenge on us. No, I'm not saying he loves us either, even though he does keep sending us little gift baskets. I'm just saying we don't know whether he hates us or not, because he told us not to worry, but he never actually pardoned us or forgave us. And every time we bring up the past, he just talks over us, insisting that God sent him to Egypt, not us. It drives me crazy, the way he won't even let us be responsible for our own crime. Oh, what you did was really God's plan to get me to Egypt so I could interpret Pharaoh's dreams with God's help. So Pharaoh would elevate me from slave to viceroy over all Egypt. So when the famine came, I could save everybody's life with my cleverness and God's help. And us? We were just puppets following God's plan by selling our own brother. But don't worry about it, Joseph says. We didn't have any choice. He won't even grant us that. What, Naphtali? Oh, well, no, maybe it sounds like it, but I don't really hate Joseph. I just get mad once in a while when he treats us like children and acts like God's favorite son. But how can I hold that against him? The way Father spoiled him, of course Joseph would think he was royalty. And you got to give him credit for the quick thinking that got him where he is today. Sure, God gave him a lot of talent, but Joseph gets credit for using that talent. I give him credit for his choices. And hey, he's made better choices in Egypt than we did in Dothan. So yes, Joseph annoys me, but I think if he would just give us a chance to apologize, then we could ask him to forgive us. Oh, Naphtali, I know it's a risk just bringing it up again, and apologizing is hard. But remember when I told you how I apologized to Tamar, and living in the same house with her got a lot easier? Besides, once we apologize to Joseph, we won't have to feel so guilty. Then if he forgives us, we can trust him and we're safe. But if he dodges the question again, we're not safe and we can plan accordingly. Maybe even sneak away from that Egyptian honor guard before we get back to Egypt. Well, you're right, Reuben. Our families would be stuck in Egypt and we might never see them again. I'd hate to die without seeing Shalak and the twins again, but I'd like to live to old age anyway. Good point, Levi. What if he orders his guards to take us tonight? Well, let's take turns keeping watch just in case, all right? And in the morning, let's go to Joseph and apologize for what we did all those years ago. All right? What's that, Levi? Oh, that's a complicated plan, brother. So we pretend that when Father was on his deathbed, he told us to tell Joseph to pardon us. You know, Joseph was with Father all the time those last days. Do you really think he'll believe in a message we heard and he missed? Yes, you have a point. If Joseph pardons us for Father's sake, that is better than nothing. Still, I'd rather apologize for myself, so Joseph has a chance to forgive me for myself. All right, Levi, let's hear the message you drafted. Your father gave us an order before his death, saying, thus you shall say to Joseph, please pardon, please, the crime of your brothers and their wrongdoing for evil rendered to you. And now please pardon the crime of the servants of your father's God. Oh, lady, the wording is what, Reuben? Is this really the time to call for a vote? All right. Who wants to send Levi's message? I'm outvoted. I give up. Do it your way. Maybe Joseph will see the good intentions behind the lie and interpret it as an apology. Or maybe he'll hold the lie against us. But I'm telling you, if Joseph only answers by talking about God's master plan, then I'm going to speak up and apologize for real. So if Levi's message doesn't work, do you want me to apologize for all 10 of us and ask him to forgive us? Yes? All right.